We got a bidet!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are talking about the new movie 65. This is the brand new Adam Driver film, which probably piqued my interest the most just because it's cool to see him do things that aren't Star Wars, because he is a pretty good actor in my opinion. We've also seen him, I think, in the Gucci movie, which was really good. So this was just kind of another one that's not Star Wars that was fun to watch with Adam Driver. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with the movie, and then we're going to give our thoughts. The reason why we're not going to like deep dive, so to speak, is because some of the stuff it's more just seeing their adventure. Both Adam Driver and the girl that is in, there we go, I'm pointing in Sarah's picture. But what essentially is going on with this film is that Adam Driver's character, which is Mills, is his name. Mills basically explores different planets for his job, and he has to go explore a planet, an unknown planet, on a voyage for I think 2 years. And so him and his wife are kind of going back and forth on, it's a really long time. You're going to miss a lot of time with your daughter. And the reason why that he's deciding to do this job, even though it's so long, is because it's supposed to get him and his family enough money to pay for basically the medical needs of his daughter. His daughter has some sort of condition where she needs to have a lot of medical attention. And so he takes this job, and he's basically on his way to the planet, and there is an uncharted asteroid field that is in his like straight line to the planet, so to speak. His, I don't know what you want to call that. His
So he was trying to deliver a group of people that were like carbon frozen to, I think, their home planet. But he hits this asteroid field that was undocumented and has to crash land on the planet where the movie takes place.
Right. I was trying to think of what to describe the trajectory of where he was going, his voyage maybe. But while on their way, yeah, they get hit by an unidentified asteroid field and they crash land. The ship does break in like two separate pieces during this process. Adam Driver, Mills, they crash land in one area, and then the other part of the ship crashes in another. And at this point, Mills can see that there's no survivors, and he starts to send out messages saying like everybody's dead, don't come and rescue us, kind of a thing. Like he thinks, what's the point for one person? But then he ends up stumbling across another person, which is the one in Sarah's picture, and her name,
Koa.
Koa. Yep. Koa is also somebody that was part of the voyage. She was actually in one of those pods that Sarah was referencing that Mills was, transporting to the planet. And she can't speak the same language as Mills, so they have kind of a little bit of a language barrier. They have some character development where they're starting to understand each other. Like Mills is trying to explain what move means, like because they need to, walk. Or at one point, Koa starts seeing a video of his daughter, and they talk about family. So they're able to start pinpointing a couple of words, but it's very, very broken between the way that they're talking. So what ends up happening is that Mills discovers that the other part of the ship that was broken, like detached from the one that he was in when he crash landed, it has an escape pod that's still functioning. And if they can get there, then they can leave the planet and go back home. So basically what the movie is their trek over to the escape pod. And along the way, they have to deal with the animals of the planet that they're on, and they're all dinosaurs. Um, One thing that we are told as viewers is that what this movie really is that it's 65 million years ago there was this voyage with Mills, and he was transporting people, and when he crashed the ship, he actually crashed on Earth. So that's why he's dealing with these dinosaurs, because on Earth 65 million years ago we had dinosaurs. So while they're going from point A to point B, they basically have to, adapt and survive to the creatures of the world at this point. But the major thing that happens where they have to like pick up the pace is that his little reader thing is picking up that there's an asteroid or a group of asteroids coming to impact the Earth, which is the asteroid that, we all understand to have wiped out dinosaurs. So they have to get to the escape pod before all this happens. And so he or Mills has been quote unquote tricking Koa to go to the ship because he keeps telling her that her family might be there. So he's trying to get some sort of buy-in from her. Ultimately, when they get there are no survivors. She gets very upset about it. But they do end up getting to the escape pod. They have some troubles with some big dinosaurs, like T-Rex type dinosaurs along the way. It's interesting because this movie kind of starts off with small dinosaurs and then gradually gets to like bigger and bigger ones by the time they get to the end of the movie, because the finale of the movie is, Mills and Koa against this really, really big beastie. And they get off the planet. They're able to go back home. All is good. And that's pretty much the movie. Again, I'm not going into nitty gritty details on what creatures they encountered, kind of a thing, because just use your imagination. There's a bunch of dinosaurs. You have to get from point A to point B, and you could probably use your imagination of, the troubles they would have.
It's kind of one of those things if you just got to see it,
Yeah. There's one thing before we get into what we liked and disliked that I wanted to point out, because Sarah pointed this out when the movie was over. But even if you look at it on IMDb, it is not a typo. There are 5 people that are credited for this film. 5. You can count on one hand how many people are in this film that are credited. There's a bunch of dead bodies, but they aren't like credited as main cast. So I thought it was really interesting that there wasn't very many cast members in this movie.
Well, it's really kind of just him and Koa, and at the beginning of the movie, Mill's wife and daughter.
Right.
That's really kind of it.
So let's see, who was the 5th person? The 5th is a voice person. Like they're doing is voice acting. So I think they're probably
probably the voice of the computer system then.
Yeah. So essentially 4 beings in the film and then 1 more for voice. So Sarah, what did you think of the movie?
I really liked it. From the previews and stuff, it's an Adam Driver movie. He's got this like futuristic blaster rifle of some sort, and there's dinosaurs, and that's really kind of a big recipe for a very strange film, and that was what drew me in, right?
Yep.
I like Adam Driver. Kind of reminds me of Keanu Reeves. I feel like he looked like him a lot in this film. It doesn't help that they had a preview before the movie for the new John Wick movie, which is Keanu Reeves' film. But anyway, side note.
We digress.
I thought it was a fun adventure. I thought they put in an adequate amount of humor, from when he's trying to teach her things. And then just like children, when you accidentally say a word you're not supposed to, that's the word they pick up. So we have an instance of that going on in here too. It was kind of funny.
It is pretty funny, I will admit.
There were some good amounts of danger level, I would say, in terms of, various dinosaur encounters and some really gross ones too. At one point, they're trying to sleep and he wakes up because of an alarm saying that something's wrong. And Koa's like foaming from mouth. and come to find out she's got this weird like beetle thing in her mouth and she's unconscious and he has to kill it without waking her up but also not hurt her. So that was disgusting. So
It
there
was
was a few what?
it was pretty gross.
There was just a few shock factor things like that. Um that I thought were pretty good. The way that they dealt with the big dinosaur towards the end of the film, I thought that was nice. They had some times when I say nice as in like interesting. They didn't just like they actually put an effort to make it look gruesome and tying different pieces of the film together. Like we saw earlier in the film, Koa wrapped her this bone thing with some poison berries to like make it poisonous. And then she winds up using that at the very end of the film. So tying different pieces of the film together. Um, and then one last thing that I'll kind of throw in here before handing it off to Jeremy for what his thoughts are was that the character development for Mills I thought was really interesting. Going from I'm going on this voyage to save my daughter, and they show different holograms of the daughter throughout the film. So, his first messages were there's no survivors, don't come to rescue because he doesn't think his life is worth saving because he has found out that his daughter's dead. She didn't make it before he was able to return back home. So he's kind of feeling lost and like, what was I doing on this journey if I wasn't there for her when she needed me? To, oh my goodness, there's another kid here and I can help. I may not have been able to save my daughter, but I can help save this kid. So, redoing that message system to call for backup to come and rescue them, which they, at the end of the film, I guess, allude to them meeting the rescue ship out in space. So just seeing his character development throughout the movie, I thought that was done really well too, from like an emotional standpoint. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. It was a decent watch. Um, I thought I really liked the character development, like you're talking about with Mills. It's funny because when I was watching this movie, I kept thinking to myself, what would I tell the people when we go to do this movie discussion? Like, if I were to describe the movie, what would I pick? And my mind kept going to cute because just I felt like the strength of the film was their relationship between Mills and Koa with all the different humor things that they had. I felt that was the strongest as opposed to maybe the action. There wasn't a lot of things that were action oriented where I was like, whoa, that was awesome, kind of a thing. But it was cool, so to speak. Like his gun that you can see in my picture here, it seems kind of overpowered, but because like he was shooting massive dinosaurs with like 2 or 3 shots and it was taking them down no problem. So I feel like that maybe limited creativity of how to kill some of these dinosaurs. I will say the final dinosaur battle was pretty cool with the way that they killed it. Um, but ultimately, I do think that the gun kind of took away from it at times, allowing it to have the ability to be more creative. I thought it was really cool that they played this movie as being I had almost wondered if they were going to say that he was the asteroid that came down to Earth, and because he was like just like killing dinosaur left and right, that maybe he was, the issue. But no, later on in the film, we find out that he got to Earth right before the asteroid we know to have hit the Earth. So I thought it was kind of cool how it was basically playing him as a space explorer way before Earth was even civilized with a bunch
Yeah,
of
that was a really neat combination to have all his futuristic tools, but in the prehistoric ages.
right. Because when I saw the preview, I had wondered, is this going to be like just some random planet, or like how are they going to play this to make sense? Which I would say that's a very good strength of the movie is that everything they do makes sense. They call back to pretty much, well, they inform you enough so that when something happens down the line, it's believable. So, for example, there was like these water, is that a geyser? Is that what you call those things? Where they were shooting hot water up in the air, and when Mills first got to the planet, his clothing was singed by it, like it was really, really hot from getting hit by that water, and he knew that was, a really bad thing. It was a threat to him, and he ended up using that later on during one of his encounters with a dinosaur. So, uh, you know, if they hadn't put that part in the film, I feel like it would have been a little less believable that he would have known about that kind of a thing. So if that makes sense where I'm going with um trying to say that they did a very good job with setting things up so that they have payoff later on. I think that was probably the second biggest strength of the movie. The biggest strength is Mills and Koa's relationship uh, throughout the movie. And the second thing I think is building believability and being setting things up properly in this film. There wasn't one time where I was like, "Oh, come on, no way," kind of a thing. Where if you watch Fast and the Furious, they do a bunch of crazy things that make no sense. Um, so overall, I thought it was a really cool film. I liked seeing Adam Driver in a different type of role. He was kind of like a fatherly figure. I haven't watched all of his stuff, but this was the first one that I saw where he was a fatherly figure, and it was cool to see him in this role. Um, Otherwise, it was really cool to see the different dinosaurs. Honestly, I didn't recognize hardly a single one of them. Some of them resembled ones that I, have seen in the past, but they all seem to be pretty different. Even some of the big bad ones in this film aren't ones that are like classic dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, so to speak. They're, I would say, pretty unique to this film.
Well, like even the T-Rex type one, instead of having little T-Rex arms, had pretty much normal sized arms, like the same size as his legs.
Right. So like we didn't have a T-Rex. We probably had some sort of other dinosaur that was similar. Um, which was, in my opinion, probably the best thing to do with this film, just to kind of separate themselves a little bit from like Jurassic World, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a good idea to, in a way, use their own dinosaur designs as opposed to like doing a carbon copy of what's already been done. Anything else you want to say about the film?
I feel like they did a good job of interacting with the land itself, from, that hot springs geyser to there was a quicksand, although it didn't look like sand, it was more like muck, but a quicksand scene with some danger in there that actually was shown a couple different times in a couple different ways. So it wasn't just that the dinosaurs were dangerous. Some of the natural habitation, landscape, vegetation, I guess, is what I was trying to go for. Even some of that was dangerous too. So, um, neat to see some danger on multiple different levels. I think in terms of things I didn't like, the gun being overpowered is kind of a minor thing for me. Like I get what you're saying, but it really only came to play maybe one time where it seemed like it was too much. Um, and there was one scene where it looked like he had left his backpack behind and then magically he had it later. And that might have just been me not picking up on something, or maybe they just didn't feel like filming him going back to get the backpack because that'd be boring. But that's really kind of it. It's a fun watch, I think.
Cool. All right. So that was our thoughts on the new movie 65 that just came out recently. If you enjoyed these types of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. One thing that we learned from a survey is that you guys want more of these types of videos. So we plan to deliver this year. So stick around for more and more of our video discussions. Today, even, we have a video from Scream 6 coming out. So make sure to check out this video and the other video that came out today. Drop us a like if you liked the video, and drop us a comment letting us know if you saw 65 and what your thoughts are. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.